You're listening to a Roddenberry podcast.
Today is Wednesday, March 17th, 2021, and this is your daily Star Trek news from the Roddenberry Podcast Network. On today's show, Colm Meaney reacts to O'Brien's statue in Star Trek Lower Decks. Sonequa Martin-Green talks about getting cast in Space Jam: A New Legacy, and I've got a bit of Star Trek history. I'm Alison Pitt, and today's show is supported by people like you through Patreon. Find out more and add your support at patreon.com/Daily Star Trek News. Happy St. Patrick's Day! And this just would not be a Star Trek show if we didn't go straight for the Irish stereotype and do a story about an Irishman on St. Paddy's Day. Colm Meaney, known for playing Miles O'Brien in Star Trek The Next Generation and Star Trek Deep Space Nine, is one of the stars of the film Pixie, which was released in the UK last October and was just released here in the United States earlier this month. He spoke to Collider about his role in the Irish set comedy thriller, and the conversation predictably took a turn towards the Trek. When asked by Collider whether revisiting Chief O'Brien is something he'd consider, Meaney was on the fence. He said, "I've always felt like 7 years, 8 years is long enough, you know? As I get older, you get kind of nostalgic about some of the stuff you've done in the past, so it might be nice to go back and have a look at it again. Generally speaking, over the years, I would have been reluctant to go back to O'Brien, but you know, never say never." Of course, Star Trek Lower Decks fans will know that O'Brien has already made an appearance in that show in statue form. What does Meaney think about O'Brien being acknowledged as the most important man in Starfleet history? "Wow," he said, finally. Finally they got it right, huh? To watch the full interview, which covers many more Trek topics in addition to Pixie, Hell on Wheels, and more, visit Collider.com. Now next up, in case you haven't heard, Star Trek Discovery's Sonequa Martin-Green is set to appear in the upcoming film Space Jam: A New Legacy, the sequel to the 1996 box office hit Space Jam. In the film, Martin-Green plays Camilla James, the semi-fictional wife of NBA player LeBron James. Speaking with Entertainment Weekly in an interview they published last week, Martin-Green revealed why she was eager to take part in the film. In the mid-90s, it was impossible to ignore the immense popularity of Space Jam. Space Jam literally had an all-star cast featuring some of basketball's greatest players of the time, along with notable comedians, actors, and, of course, the Looney Tunes. As a child, Martin-Green grew up in the era when superstar Michael Jordan was the face of professional basketball. Citing basketball as her favorite sport, it's no surprise that she's a fan of the original film. She told EW, "I loved Space Jam coming up. It was very special to me, and it was a big deal in my household, so I've carried it with me." Now, when the opportunity came to be a part of the long-awaited sequel, Martin-Green couldn't believe it was actually going to happen. She said, "Once I realized that it was going to be moving forward, it's a lot to wrap your head around, especially because of the position the original movie has in my childhood and in my heart. It was mind-blowing." Martin-Green, in spite of her love for the original film, wasn't sure at first how Space Jam: A New Legacy would connect with kids. While she said that she appreciated the youth of today would have a fresh Space Jam that they could experience and then hopefully grow to cherish, Martin-Green wanted to be sure the film would be meaningful to audiences. She told EW that she'd asked herself, how are they going to make this relevant for today? How are they going to catch the eye of the youth today? After reading the script, however, Martin-Green said, "Aha, that's how you do it. That's genius," telling EW that she was fully on board at that point and really excited about the opportunity. Unfortunately, she neglected to share any more details on the film's plot. To read the full coverage of EW's interview with Martin-Green, visit EW.com. Space Jam: A New Legacy will be released in theaters and available to stream on HBO Max beginning July 16th, 2021. Now, in just a moment, I'll be taking you back in time to find out what happened this week in Star Trek history. But first, a word from me. This show is supported by people like you through Patreon. Your support from as little as $1 a month helps us pay for our expenses like hosting and software, and helps us grow the team so we can bring you even more Star Trek news wherever you are. Please consider supporting the show on Patreon. You can find out more at patreon.com/Daily Star Trek News. That's patreon.com/Daily Star Trek News. And a big thanks to you for supporting this show. And now, let's take a look back into Star Trek history. It was today, March 17th, back in 1989, that actor Merritt Buttrick passed away. Buttrick played a total of 2 roles in Star Trek, first as Kirk's son David in Star Trek II, The Wrath of Khan, and Star Trek III, The Search for Spock, and then as T'Jon in the Star Trek The Next Generation Season 1 episode, Symbiosis. Buttrick had a relatively short acting career. It started in 1981 with a small role in the TV series Hill Street Blues. He played a rapist in an episode called Presidential Fever, coincidentally directed by Robert Butler, who had previously directed Star Trek's original pilot, The Cage. Buttrick also played Johnny Slash in the sitcom Square Pegs, which starred a teenage Sarah Jessica Parker. Sadly, Buttrick's career was cut short when he died tragically in 1989 of complications from AIDS. He was just 29 years old. Tune in again next Wednesday for more Star Trek history. Well, that's it for today's Daily Star Trek news from the Roddenberry Podcast Network. Don't forget to check out the other great shows on the network at podcasts.roddenberry.com. Daily Star Trek News is produced by me, Alison Pitt, with selected stories by Chris Peterson. We're supported by people like you through Patreon. Find out how you can add your support at patreon.com/Daily Star Trek News. And finally, please make sure that you're signed up for the Daily Star Trek newsletter at dailystartreknews.com/contact. Get all the day's Star Trek news delivered straight to your inbox every weekday morning. I'm back tomorrow with more of the Star Trek news you need to know and the weekend's Star Trek events. I'm Alison Pitt. Live long and prosper.
This is a Roddenberry podcast. For more great podcasts, visit podcast.roddenberry.com.